What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Wednesday edition. Well, I guess I should say it's Wednesday, so you know what's happening. It's live with Fast Eddie Fear, complete with a new marquee. My name is Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawaisenberg DFS, but I am not the man on the marquee. That is the man to my right. It's Fast Eddie Fear. Eddie, how you doing?
I'm doing extremely well. How are you, Zach?
I'm doing well, and I do like your X-Wing shirt there that you got going
Oh,
on.
thank you. I try to dress up for you and the fam. I try to look good for you. So I had my Ron Jeremy All-Star shirt on, which is now not something you can wear in public. So grew on the X. That's every time there's a porn star who's involved in something like that, you're like it inspires a lot of I don't know. There's no correct way to handle this topic. So for once, I will use my better judgment and not get into it. But every time it's like, yeah, Ron Jeremy and James Dean don't treat women well. And it's like, well, they're well paid and famous for frequently treating women badly on film. And they're praised for that. It's like, when you get a reputation for doing something and it makes you happy, apparently you just continue doing it.
Well, we've got 11 games on this Wednesday slate. It's been a while since we had, I think, a slate, at least with you and I on the stream, of a double-digit slate, I should say. 11 games here. I know Kyle and Javi, as always, doing the best game-by-game breakdown in the industry behind the paywall preceding us, and it frees us up to bounce around and kind of have the format that I think you and I tend to like better than just a strict game-by-game breakdown. We can kind of bounce around and let the FTN subs here maybe dictate where we go. And with that, Eddie, I kind of wanted to merge both our pre-show conversations that you and I were talking about with some of the ranks and our guy Kruger's here, our resident Canadian, the man north of the border, was asking about Buddy Hield and the 10 that is on Buddy Hield in the rankings. And so I guess let's start with that Pacers and Wizards game. That is one of the 7:30 games, one of the three 7:30 games, only one game going off at lock on this 11-game slate, that being the Hawks and the Magic. But Wizards, Pacers, obviously both teams that look a lot different this week than they did at this point last week. And the Pacers, 1-point home favorites, 226 implied total here. So I think there's a lot of probably what's going to end up some of the favorite value on this slate in this game.
Yes.
And I guess I will start off by making my case for Buddy Hield, because I think I'm closer to a 10. You're closer to a 9.
I thought he was a quintessential 9. I like him a lot, but he projects well. The price has gone from 5 and some change to now 6 1/4. Projects for about 35 fantasy points for me, which is outstanding. Yeah. He is my best projecting pacer versus salary. So he's a strong guy, but he's going to be 32% owned on a giant slate. There is a floor, there is a ceiling. He's appropriately owned. There's just not quite enough there. He locks your money a little earlier. Like for me, he is exactly a 9. I would not fault someone for having 100% Buddy Hield. I would not fault someone for having 0% Buddy Hield. I do think we want a lot of exposure to this game relatively. So even though you said you were going to go first, I jumped the gun. Now you will go.
Well, so I guess I'll start here before I kind of get into my spiel about Buddy. I'm looking at the most recent update here from our good buddy Kyle Murray, the Opto Extraordinaire. He's got Buddy at 24% projected ownership here. I actually think and maybe this could be our first board bet of the night, I actually tend to side closer to that 24% number on this 11-game slate. I think you said 35 a minute ago would be.
I said 32.
32, okay.
But
say he comes in at 24, would that change anything about it?
24 would get him much closer to a 10 for me, because he is. Okay. He is. It's a game we want to target. He's my best projecting guy in the game. The minutes feel relatively safe. There is a relevant difference between those two things. It would definitely be a cookie. I don't think a 10 on Buddy Hield is scary, but just like originally you had a 10 on Jokic. I love Jokic. He projects fine. He's obviously much safer than Buddy Hield, but you're spending as much money as you're spending on anyone on the slate. You lose center opportunity cost. to me, that's a little bit more of a 9. But yeah, if he was 24% owned, and I will fiddle with some numbers around the industry, I have 2 other numbers. One is 20, one is 30. So apparently everyone thinks he will not be as owned as I am. And on an 11-game slate, I'm probably on the high side there. So if you want a board bet, I would give you a board bet at 27 or something like that. But I think my original number is too high looking at everything.
Sure. If we put 27 on the board, I'll take the under on that. I'll stick with both me and Kyle Murray on that 24% projection. So we can put that on the board just to round out
we have a board update.
I think because we didn't get any on Sunday, the 2-game Super Bowl slate. I don't think we got anything down. I tried to rope you into a football bet, and you said don't sully the board.
Yeah, don't disrespect the board.
So I mean, Eddie, the thing for me with Buddy is, like you mentioned, the price. He projects really well for that price, but I still think the upside for 45 plus is well likely with him taking upper teens, maybe touching that 20 shot attempt range again. Obviously shot the lights out, 8 for 12 from 3 against the Bucks in a game that was much closer than I think all of us expected last night. 40 minutes in each of his first 2 games with the Pacers. And the one game that was, the down game, 28 DK, he was 1 of 13 from 3. And while I know Buddy can be streaky, I don't think we're going to see another 7% from 3 game from him. And being out there for 40 minutes, he can elevate his peripherals because we know he's very scoring dependent, but the minutes combined with the shot attempts in his new situation, I just can't get away from that tonight. Guard forward eligible as well.
All right, so those are all good. Yeah, it does a lot. I do not and did not think that. I think my next 2 tenths would have been Hield and Jokic, and I don't think either of those designations is particularly insane. And the ownership will be lower than I was expecting, so I would yield the point right now. I think it's at like a 9.51. We're rounding up. Speaking of rounding up, by the way, 1 for 13 is not now, nor will it ever be 7%.
7.7.
Yeah, goddamn! Do not sully the language of Shakespeare or the brilliance that is mathematics. I'm just saying, don't get them. But yeah, double-digit 3-point attempts every single game, projects well, multi-position eligibility, and again a matchup I think we want to have a very real piece of. So yeah, I think he's my first guy in there, and a lot of great hybrid shooting guard small forwards today who project really well for me. Bruce Brown and Seth Curry on the Nets, both project extremely well for me. Trying to remember other guys towards the top, but there were a lot of shooting guard small forward combinations. Bogdan is in, so my projection from Porter came. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in a matchup I'm really excited about. I don't think a lot of people get there, and
he's my KCP, my highest rated wizard. I guess in tandem with Kyle Kuzma, but I would get to KCP first. I think
I would probably get to Kuzma first because I think he will be low owned for the ceiling he brings at a mid-age price. Like it's just I sort of like the way that feels a little bit more, but yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me if KCP ended up being on the top if I re-looked at that. But I will yield the point on Buddy Hield. I think a 10 is more appropriate than a 9, especially on a slate of this size, having only 4 10s or whatever is yeah. So I think we're aligned there. Did I lose you? Did you mute yourself or something?
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't.
I immediately rocketed back to the stream to be like, is he muted? Did we get...
No, I'm working on 21 days and counting. So we're closing in. The 29 is the number to beat.
It's like at one point we should make a long board bet, which is whether or not myself and my wife of 18 years have sex more often, or you talk on the stream across the year, because they're both approximately a monthly cadence. And I really think that there's nobody can tell her, because she will do anything to make me look bad. Whichever one I bet on, she would make the other one happen. Maybe that's the play here, by the way. What we do is we get that bet on the board, and then we leak it.
Sure.
To her that I have said we will have sex less frequently than you mute yourself on stream, and then on the back I'm like, Zach, it's been like 10 days. I suppose you could mute that shit for 10 seconds. That ass. Okay. We'll go with that.
Oh man, I love how the chat perks up too. Doug says, "I perked up at the word muted." So everybody rooting for my demise.
As soon as I said something, you didn't respond. I said something else. I'm like, hold on, and I rocketed back. I was like, I'm doing important research, but nah, damn it, he's just being quiet.
It was
just lineups where you don't get healed. 2 for me. Maybe right. 1 for me. I do not think he is a must because of his positionality. I like some of the other Pacers. Mm-hmm. I generally prefer getting to Wizards more than Pacers because of sort of the ownership and upside and just taking guys against I see the click commander there. Nice. I'm a big fan of taking guys against the Pacers. I don't know if you've noticed, and that has landed someone in the optimal lineup 9 of the last time the Pacers played. So I like Kuzma. I like KCP a lot. I think you can Tom Bryant. There's a couple different ways to go on that team. So I think for me, the answer is 1. I have no problem having him in one lineup. But again, if we project him between apparently 25 and 30% owned, most people are not putting him in one lineup. Mm-hmm. So the average answer is 1. My answer is 1. I suspect Zach's answer is 2. I think if he's playing 2 lineups, he doesn't have to. Both he might. You could be that confident. I don't think it's crazy. Guard forward, very good. 6'2", still underpriced. Double-digit threes every game in his tenure on the Pacers. So, and again, I would say also the other issue is that the Wizards' biggest defensive bugaboo, if you will, at the moment is that they allow a lot of open threes. If you were to break down their defense versus guarding the paint versus transition versus whatever, the worst thing about this defense, which is pretty bad right now, is that teams are just making so many of their threes. So really hard not to project him pretty well. So I'm fine with Budrick.
A little bit of news coming in here. Anthony Edwards, a game time decision tonight. That will have some fantasy repercussions for the T-Wolves. The Wizards will start the same 5: Neto, KCP, Kispert, Kuzma, and Tom Bryant at the 5. Reminder though, on I guess we can talk about the other side of this game now. Rui Hachimura out. Porzingis will remain out through the All-Star break. So I guess you talked a little bit about Kuzma, KCP. I guess from just the rest of this game, because we really didn't get into the Hallie part of it, Jalen Smith, Lance, in too much detail on those guys. So I guess pick somewhere else in this game, because I think there's more to discuss here.
Well, something good will very likely in this matchup come out of that Pacers front court, but the issue is that Pacers front court is a bit of a, and I think after this we should talk about the 7 p.m. game a little bit just to make sure we handle all questions there, because we have just the one game. And I think you indicated to me before you have to leave as close to lock tonight.
Yeah, about 10 minutes after lock is when I gotta get out of here. It is it's soccer season, baby. Austin FC taking on the Mexican League champions tonight in the final preseason tune-up. I'm excited.
I'll take it. It's exciting. Someone says Edwards didn't look good when he got hurt last night. That was my impression with the original injury, but he came back out pretty quickly and was celebrating on the bench and moving around pretty well. So I'm not surprised. Some people were indicating oh, he's going to be out tomorrow. No, he's actually a game time decision. My gut is he plays, but all right, so the rest of this team, let's do Indiana real quick, the one I'm slightly less a fan of. So my top 4 guys were the same as your top 4 guys, and we discussed this before, being the aforementioned Buddy Hield, Jalen Smith, Tyrese Halliburton, and Lance. Makes him dance with romance in his pants. Stevenson. I have them all in roughly the same tier. I have them all owned in the teens for percentages. So obviously there is a really significant upside to getting to Halliburton. I'm particularly enthused by Carlisle's comments after the last game, and actually in a different presser previous to that, where he basically went, yeah, we're just going to let him figure it out on the fly. He's the guy. He's going to do it. That means a lot to me. 8.4 is still pretty cheap. I haven't projected for 42 fantasy points. That is a very nice projection. I am slightly more excited getting to Kyle Kuzma, who I've projected for 43.5 fantasy points, which also I did some back checking there. Highest individual projection for a game I've ever had for Kyle Kuzma.
Really?
I'd say that this is literally the best possible Kuzma. So again, my numbers, my algorithm, my sense, whatever, is clearly a little different from everyone else's, where I just have matchups with the Pacers like, oh boy, that feels really good. And then you're playing next to Howell Neto and Corey Kispert and Denny Avdia and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Anthony Gill. And these guys are not going to light up the stage. And we need somebody to take shots. And as I have often said, Kyle Kuzma was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll take shots. And so he ranks slightly better for me than Halliburton. And I think the ownership is actually pretty goddamn comparable. He might even be a point or two higher. So, but for the rest of Indiana, looking at this team, I think I probably rank them due to the positions and a couple other things. Like it really depends what you're doing with your team. If you're not playing Healed, I think you got to strongly consider playing Halliburton. I think near half the field will play one of these two men. Morant, GTD also. If you're going to a piece of the front court, I would probably rank them Jalen Smith, then Goga, then a price still rising O'Shea Brissett. I don't think I want to get to Washington, Sykes, Terry Taylor, any of the other sort of also-rans at this point. That's probably a little bit too cute. And again, the matchup for the Pacers is not good as the matchup for the Wizards. And again, these guys are a little more fantasy darlings, so their ownership is going to hold a little bit higher than those other guys. So for me, Healed alone, great. Healed and Smith, fine. Healed and Lance, slightly less. I would not Halliburton and Lance, just Halliburton fine, Halliburton and Smith fine. Those are the four guys in which I have the most interest. And it's really Healed is a 1A, Smith and Halliburton is a 1B, Lance is a 2, and then some also-rans in Goga. O'Shea can get there in this spot. Like 5-6 is a lot, but the minutes could be 35, 37 again. Could certainly get to 45 fantasy points. He only costs 5-6. While that is a lot, and he doesn't rank quite as well as those other guys, certainly no issue getting there, but we are in a bit of a quagmire when it comes to that rotation. You want to take first crack at the Washington rotation, or should I?
You can go ahead. A lot of discussion actually right now in chat with the Ja Morant game time decision piece that just came through.
Yeah.
I guess just to appease the chat here, do you think that Ja Morant plays tonight?
I will say yes. You can put it on the board if you want also. Okay. If you do it in the next 30 seconds. I think Ja Morant will play. He seemed to be up. And again, last night was an off night for me, so I'm paying attention but not lasered in on. But he seemed to be a real game time last night.
Yeah. Which is why I'm leaning in as well. So that's why I didn't immediately jump at the chance to put the board. Good.
I do think he cares to some degree about his numbers.
Yeah.
So I would say 60-40 Ja Morant does play. Obviously, there's a big conversation with Tyus Jones, who still holds the record for one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the history of the NBA. I don't know if you remember this, but
like career-wise, or
no. Well, I assume his career-wise is also really good. But there was one year in which he played massive time when I think he was up north, where he played enough time to qualify, and he ended on, I don't even remember the ratio, 14.5 assists per turnover, or some preposterously absurd number that I think was like top 5 all time. So, Kenrich is out. God, I don't want to play Wiggins. Someone said he's going to play 35 minutes. Well, he might play 35 minutes. Like I think so. We'll come back to when we get some news there. People want to talk about Boston. That makes sense. Do you want to talk about a little bit of OKC? Because I do think the major threat to Wiggins, Chalk, is your boy.
Poku.
I mean, that's the minutes trade-off there. That's the guy who, if he gets going, gets more time, and they give some extra time there. Also, I think there is. So all right. So the way I see this game going is Wiggins will start. Wiggins will play 30+ minutes. Wiggins will be a excellent, if not outstanding, value play. Would I play him in one lineup? Probably not, because it's an 11-game slate, and he's going to be 55% owned or some ridiculous the fuck number. So for that reason, I probably don't play him because he's not the world's best fantasy contributor. I can think of ways in which it goes wrong in game. And by that, I mean, one of the reasons I think his minutes are safe is that he will be the on-ball defender they will try to use to slow down DeJounte Murray. We've seen this in the past, actually. So that not being strange for him to potentially get in some extra foul trouble or even just be focusing on that side of the court. So I have Wiggins for like 32 minutes and 23 and a half fantasy points. At the minimum, that's an outstanding projection. I have no issue with someone playing him. I just generally on a slate with a trillion pieces of value, when you're not a big upside guy, and I don't look at the matchup and think, boy, this is amazing. I have to play this guy. I don't know how he fails. It's a Drummond starting, or it's a like. There's times I'll go 100% on this guy, but on an 11-game slate, like as individual value, he ranks as I think a top 3 play for me. Like a Tim, Trey, and somebody else are at the absolute top of the board for me. But there are a lot of very good value plays that I am interested in the 4K range. You can play his teammate Isaiah Roby at 3,400. Certainly tougher matchup. You're dealing with Pirtle. You have Quentin Grimes at 4,100 against a Brooklyn team that's been absolutely execrable on defense and has played 32 and 35 minutes each of the last couple games. We could certainly get to him. Kispert or Neto against the Pacers, obviously something I like getting to. If Ant is out, Jaden McDaniels, who had a very nice game coming off. Again, you can't expect that kind of repetition, but he's 3,500. Obviously, Jalen Smith, Bruce Brown at 4K. There's just a lot of really good value, or at least tolerable value if you spend a little bit more. So, yeah, for me, if you're telling me that he's going to be 55% owned, which is the number consensus I'm seeing a lot, I probably don't play him in one lineup. He projects great. I do not have a great reason not to. The two notable reasons not to are, one, he'll have a difficult defensive assignment, which does help secure their intention to play him minutes, but does sort of add a floor. And B, there is an obvious minutes pivot. There is obviously a minutes pivot where they could go back to playing more time for Pokusevski. That would not shock me particularly if he played 27 minutes and Poku got back to 30, which again is something we've seen not that long ago. Again, Wiggins not always with the team there, but they may just be like, hey, this is a day we want to give them more minutes. A team can obviously blow out, and this is an OKC team that is not overly thin. You have Wiggins, but you have just in the front court, you have Roby, Poku, Favors, who is going to play today, Basley. He will get nominal amounts of time at the 3, but even there they have, everyone from your boy.
Veet Krejci's been out there.
Yeah. Veet Krejci, you're just going to change this. This is your Persquisius McStuffins. Mateo Maladon is going to play. Trey Mann is going to play. Josh Giddey, of course, is going to play. So they're going to run a 10-man rotation. Here is someone's minutes breakdown for Boston. I will compare this because someone took the time to put that in chat. I will compare my minutes breakdown for Boston with your minutes breakdown of Boston. You have Derek White, 33 minutes. I have 33 and a half minutes. So we'll call it a tie. You have Tatum at 35. I have Tatum at 34 and a half. So I think that's where our 30 seconds are going either way. You have Brown at 35. I have Brown at 35. You have, these are your minutes. You have Grant at 30. I'm at 29. You have Horford at 31. I have at 31. You're looking pretty good there. I do not largely disagree with your minutes for Boston. I have Pritchard for 22. You have him for 25. That's our largest percentage disparity, I think. The issue there is the other team is Detroit, and they suck balls. They are not a good team on any definition of that, from the front office down to the court and all the way around the stadium to the parking attendants. They suck, and they may really get their ass kicked. I mean, individually as DFS plays, I think my favorite play on the team would be Bagley. He'd be out there if they got demolished. He's only 3,600. He's a very good fantasy producer. Sure, they've said, Dwayne mentioned we're going to play him at the 4 and the 5. I have 22 minutes. I've seen everything from 20 and 23. He's going to get some time. They want to take a look, but it's ugly. Like, no one on the team ranks over 30 minutes other than I think Sadiq Bey is a couple over. But no, I think your Boston minutes distribution there was outstanding. Bravo. They are starting Wiggins at the 3 as expected. That is what I had for the likely Thunder starters: Giddey, Mann, Wiggins, Basley, Roby. Also worth pointing out that Wiggins' production a little worse at the 3 than at the 4, where he's gotten a substantive amount of time. So 33 minutes of White against Detroit seems really good. It does. I like White quite a bit. Haven't seen him mentioned once, so I have to like Grimes quite a bit based on, I'm a big fan of Grimes. Thibodeau's comments, which really mean fuck all because fuck that guy, but have been as positive as you're going to get. I see here actually played 31, 37, and 40 minutes in the last 3 games. Overtime last time. Right, the OKC game. For some reason, I had not clicked that one in, so I just remembered the 31 and the 37 from the 2 previous games. The matchup I find overly positive, and get it in there. It's nice to be able to play a Nick once in a while. Kyle talked me into Bagley too. Yeah, I have to like Bagley. He's power forward eligible. I do not think it is a must. The matchup is bad. You can make a legitimate argument the Celtics are the best defense in the NBA now. Now, they are playing without Marcus Smart and Bob Williams today, so that designation will not be accurate, but not a matchup where I'm like, God, this guy has to crush. But he looks really good. He looks like he's going to get 21 minutes, 23 fantasy points even in this matchup, a little better than a fantasy point a minute. You can obviously get there. And again, I think that's another reason to slightly impugn a very chalky Wiggins.
Had a couple.
Wiggins the third, Wiggins the lesser, as previously.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we did have a couple questions like 6-7 minutes ago, kind of directing us in other spots on this slate. I do want to go to Houston, if that's all right with you, because we've got some important questionables there. Before we get into the Rockets, though, over 100 people watching the stream, only 19 likes. Take a second. Hit that thumbs up. It helps us out immensely, believe it or not. So the Rockets, Christian Wood, Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah.
And I believe we've got a third one in there. Where's my Rockets injury report? Schroeder, right?
It's Schroeder. I believe is the third. Yeah.
So do you have a non-COVID illness for KPJ and Christian Wood, Achilles soreness for the new acquisition, Dennis Schroeder? Any lean for you on if those guys are in or out?
No, but I do think, this is a later game it's worth paying attention to. My first instinct is you hope Wood is out so you can windmill Slan, Alper, and Şengün, who would then get 30 minutes and would project extremely well in the ownership. Would not be high enough.
Power forward eligible Şengün.
Yeah, power forward eligible Şengün. Yeah, no, that's a key part of it, is that you'd be able to get him in there almost no matter what. If these guys are in, don't play anyone on this team. I mean, this is the third time these two teams have played this year. And obviously this sets up for they're in Phoenix. This is I believe they're in Phoenix.
Yes, they are.
Van Vliet is out, so we'll move to that immediately. Nash says they need Drummond to improve his conditioning. Yeah, Nash also said we have 5 centers, so it's one of the reasons they do have 5 centers. That's actually a tolerably low number. Gallinari getting the start again for the Hawks as that comes out. Tony, on the 2 previous games against the Suns, I believe you had a decent Christian Wood game and garbage. Were we to look it up, like literally no one else ever scored 30 fantasy points or something. Like it is a monstrously bad matchup. And if those guys are healthy, their minutes rotations right now are nasty. You're getting 27 minutes for Gordon and Tate and Jalen Green and Garrison Matthews and high teens for Schroeder and Şengün, and it's just nobody's minutes outside of potentially Wood are secure. You can play Christian Wood. If Wood is in and starts at 7-6, 7-7, whatever Christian Wood costs at this point, he can drop a very decent number, and he has a big game here, and like that's fine. You can play Christian Wood in GPPs. If everyone is healthy, that'll do. On a slate this size, there's just no reason to go particularly froggy anywhere else.
Yeah. Kim Birch will get the start here for the Raptors, so shifting Siakam to the 4. Just to stick with the Şengün piece for a minute, when I was kind of just messing around with placeholders earlier, I don't hate putting Şengün in at power forward or forward because you can swap $100 cheaper to Kuminga if Christian Wood does play. Like Şengün to me would be like he would be A10 with the forward eligibility if Christian Wood is out for me. I know Bruno Fernando is there now, so he doesn't, have it to himself like he did prior to the Tice, Fernando, and Pieces trade. But I do like Kuminga just fine tonight at 4-5. Obviously, a little bit of a down game for him last time out, but the minutes were still solid in that loss against the Clippers on Monday night.
I know we did this exercise last time, but Siakam's points per minute essentially is unchanged with Fred VanVleet off the court. He's not the guy getting the bump. I actually put a fair bit of time into this also.
Davion Mitchell is out. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. That's a very relevant rotation there. And Sacramento and Chicago is the next thing we should talk about, especially if you're not going to be here long, because I do like a lot in that game. Chicago's defense has really fallen off a cliff, which is not terribly surprising. Obviously, getting back Lonzo, getting back Caruso, those things are going to help them quite a bit. Jeremy Lamb, a game time decision. Dello, chanting Dante.
Yep.
Alliteration for the win. Siakam's someone. So let me. Okay. Yeah. Can you discuss if pairing Jaylen Brown and Horford is okay? I do not think a lineup with Jaylen Brown and Horford is necessarily bad. I don't think having Brown and Horford is a terrible relevant amount of correlation. I think at that point, that's enough exposure to this game where I would like to run back if possible with someone on Detroit, even if it is just Bagley. Problem is he correlates a little better with a blowout. Jeremy Grant has been awful, and his price just hasn't come down low enough to make that work. It's really tough to get to anyone on Detroit. You maybe take your shot at Cade Cunningham at that point, or someone like Sadiq Bey. So it's a little weird, but is it okay? Yes, it's okay. I'm not like, yes, it's amazing to have those guys together, but I don't think it invalidates a lineup. They're certainly up against a bad defense. Detroit can put up a game and keep it close long enough that they play well, and the Celtics aren't really well as long as this game stays close. Derek White, Al Horford are both great. White, I think, is the best player on the team at this point as far as rating expectancy per dollar. I would have White, Horford as 1, 2. Tatum and Brown perfectly acceptable to get to. Fine to play Pritchard. He's really cheap. Perfectly valuable piece of play. Grant Williams, again, I have 28 minutes. You could randomly get 32 or 33. This game could go small. You do not need to get huge to handle Isaiah Stewart in this front court. So, Trent Jr. or Healed. Talk to me about Gary Trent Jr. I see people with really significant rankings on him. I certainly do not mind some Gary Trent Jr.
Sure.
I need to refigure this for Fred out because I had Fred nominally in.
Sure. I also had him in.
Case, so,
I mean, he's just fine. 6'1". I think he's priced appropriately. Just kind of as always, Gary Trent is going to be scoring dependent here. 2 for 15, 5 for 12 in the last 2 games. Doesn't get it done for you. When he goes 15 of 26, he's going to break the slate. He projects just fine. Eddie, on DraftKings and on FanDuel, where there's an even steeper price difference between Trent and
Goga's
OG.
out, so that changes things.
Boy, we get Terry back in our lives, maybe. O'Shea's going to slide down. You're going to get Jalen at the 5, probably.
Yeah, that definitely prioritizes those guys a little bit more. So I got
to finish that thought. I'm OG over Gary Trent if I'm looking at those Raptors that are similarly priced tonight.
Interesting. Sorry, redoing Toronto and Indiana, both of which take a moment. So
sure.
I will get there. I'm trying to get some matchup agnostic. Toronto without Fred numbers, so hold on, pulling some data and going a little deeper. Can you guys touch on the 7 p.m. game? Why don't you start on that while I work on this for 90 seconds?
Sure. Atlanta and Orlando. The most important piece for me in this game, and I think for almost everybody, is going to be Trae Young. Just absolutely massive usage with John Collins off the court this year. I believe, let me double check, but I think it's up near 38% this year with John Collins off the court.
Yeah, it's just a little bit too cheap at 9,400. I have Trae Young as the best of the studs. I have him in the one placeholder lineup I built. I think his ownership is like mid-20s, which to me is not high enough. Not a must, but certainly him and Capella deserves a conversation as well.
Absolutely.
A relevant piece because of his minutes and stuff.
Trae Young, 501 minute sample with Collins off the floor this year, 38.8% usage. So I guess we call that 39 around these parts.
I like that. Call back, recall is 90% of humor. Nicely done.
Clint Capella sitting at 5'3". I have him at a 9. I think he's a very solid center value here. They're going to need him out there for another 30, 32 minutes tonight against this, oversized Magic front court. Obviously did not quite get it done against the Cavs last night. Really stymied his rebounding opportunities, only 7 in his 31 minutes. This is a guy who averages over 12 rebounds a game in 28 minutes per game in his 49 appearances so far this season. I think he's going to have a better showing here tonight. I have no issue getting to Clint Capella. Outside of, I really want Trae Young, and it's locking up. If you pair those two, it's fine. But I don't. It's fine. I don't know if that's where I'm going in one lineup on an 11-game slate with a ton of important news still to come.
All right, so a lot going on here. Yes, my Trent projection increased significantly. I do have a pretty strong preference for Trent over OG looking at these two guys at this point. The Pat Bev distinction that people are talking about is a little less appropriate because of the potentiality. I mean, this has something to do with whether or not you get Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm now trying to do it depending on if Anthony Edwards plays or not, and there's just a lot of pieces to this. But yeah, I'm gonna have Trent as the best guy here pretty significantly. Probably followed by Anunoby, followed by Siakam. I'm almost done with this. What were you talking about? You asked me a question and I spoke.
I was just talking about locking up.
All right, money in the first game. So, what you said seemed very appropriate and reasonable to me. I understand not wanting to play him and Capella. I also have concerns with Capella for a couple of reasons. So this team went to really a timeshare between Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu for a while. And then they sort of abandoned it recently. And that, I think, has something to do with the matchups they were in. You and I talked about Capella extensively on Sunday before the Boston game, and we thought they might want or need his size a little bit more because previous to that, he had played 20 to 22 minutes in 3 consecutive games. And I and you liked him a lot on, or maybe it was me and Adam. But anyhow, he was widely advertised on the last show I was on Sunday discussing him. And after playing 20 to 22 minutes, I think it was for 3 consecutive games, played 31 minutes in that matchup with the Celtics and was fine, had 32 fantasy points or something. It was very tolerable. At 5,100, I was a fan, and he was higher on than I thought he would be. He was already pretty popular. And then yesterday, they played Cleveland, which is a massive team, and they didn't play him next to Onyeka at all. And again, that time split really significantly. 31 minutes for him and 16 or 17 again for Onyeka Okongwu. So, okay, they're apparently going back to playing him a little bit more. But now we're on a back-to-back, and the whole reason that those minutes became so evenly bifurcated originally was the fact that Okongwu was a really viable backup. So I see now it is both good and bad that the matchup is with Orlando because Orlando actually has a very decent interior defense, which by way of saying, if you think Capella gets extra time, you can have some interest in Mo Bamba. Nobody wants to play Mo Bamba. I understand there is all the chance in the world. Yes, 4-4. All the chance in the world he plays 16 minutes and has 13 fantasy points. There is a real chance in this situation. Like a few games ago, I think he topped 30 minutes again. You will get 30 minutes and 40 fantasy points out of Mo Bamba once in a while here. So 5 lineups, no. 10 lineups, no. 20 is where I'm starting to think about playing a Mo Bamba. But I am not. I have Capella for a couple minutes less than everyone else here. He still ranks extremely well. But Collins being out obviously helps again.
Mm-hmm.
We did not get any Okongwu again on Sunday. This is something we prognosticated to get, that those guys without John Collins might go from 44 minutes combined to 52 minutes combined. They went to 48 combined. They just chopped 48. I think that's what you're likely to see again here. So Capella ranks extremely well. I am, I think, a little bit lower than other people. Yeah, this is an awesome slate. Alvin Gentry said he will go to a tight rotation tonight with the team not playing for a week. Major minutes coming as long as the game is competitive. Well, okay, good luck on that being competitive. But yeah, sure. And if wishes were fishes, and if my grandmother had wheels, you'd be. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's certainly a situation in which they could be. I like Big Al. I've always been an Alvin Gentry fan. He's a good dude.
Gentry says he will start Justin Holiday at the 2 again tonight, but may want to try Dante DiVincenzo next to Fox at some point after the All-Star break. So I guess we're going Dante off the bench again, but at his price, I do like him a ton as a value.
3.9, I think, is the number on Dante right now. Got
correct.
28 minutes in the last game.
Correct.
Can you discuss the center spot for Toronto when you come back to it? Yeah, there's a lot to do. Well, we only have one game at lock, and we will do what we can in chat. So I really want to know who's going to start for the Pacers. Yeah, this brings Terry Taylor back into play, who I now have at 27 minutes, which makes him in play. Yeah, I have Gary Trent now, predominantly the guy to get to there, and as I expected. So I have Trent now as the best guy in the Raptors with a projection of 37 minutes and 37.5 fantasy points. That's very good for 6'1". I think he'll still end up under Buddy Hield, though it's going to be close. It absolutely, I've lost the board bet unless I'm allowed to back out because of this, because that's going to move like 5%. But I've lost the Hield ownership board bet. It's going to come way down. Because instead of having what was going to be 15% Trent and 30% Hield, you're now going to get in the mid-20s on both of them. So
yeah,
either way, I've lost that bet.
This is nine available Pacers: Hallie, Hield, Brissett, Jalen Smith, Tristan Thompson, Lance, Kiefer Sykes, Dwayne Washington, and Terry Taylor.
Yeah, which, don't get me wrong, it is a limit, but is not like you're basically going to get Terry Taylor taking most of Goga's minutes, and otherwise the game is going to go about the way I think it was gonna. Be good to see who the fuck is starting, and we can react there. They might start. I mean, they're going to start Halliburton, Hield, Brissett. I don't know. They're going to start those 3 guys definitely. Probably, I will give you Jalen, maybe even Terry Taylor. So again, just another reason to leave some money off there and look at that. Trent looks great. Anunoby looks fine. I have him for 36 minutes and 35.5 fantasy points. So I have him for 2 fantasy points less than Trent. He's going to be approximately evenly owned. Randomly, Anunoby has guard eligibility right now. Bets off, yeah. Well, I don't know if the bet's off. I don't know how we phrased it, and there's a whole spirit of the thing there, but I think the bet should be on because like
everybody cheers for my demise, Eddie.
I'm up 2 or 3 or something, but
25 to 22.
Pieces were going to move. Nothing happened to Hield. If it was like Hield has herpes, then okay, maybe that should have affected. Another guy on another team went out. I can't be like, oh, our Buddy Hield bet isn't on the board, so no, that has to stay on the board. As much as I don't like losing the board bets, but that'll cost me the board bet because 8% is going to go from Hield to Gary Trent, and that's going to kill me. Siakam's still absolutely just fine. Top 7 play on the slate for me now. I have 38.5 minutes and 47 3/4 fantasy points for 9,300. That's very much in play. Matchup not particularly brilliant for any of these guys, but yeah, for Toronto, those are my top 3. I don't have a giant preference between the 3 of them, but Trent slightly the best. It moves Scotty Barnes from a don't play really guy to now being a very tolerant play and just not enough people. He's going to be 2% owned. You can certainly make Barnes the piece here. You have question as to who gets guarded by is Anton, who's McDaniels guarding, who's Beverly, guarding. A little bit tricky for me to figure out in 2 minutes, so I'm not going to take a stab at it. They are starting Khem Birch. I only have him at 22 minutes right now. I think there is a chance there's more, but he's going to share some time at center with Precious and Boucher and Siakam potentially. It's a bit of a mess. I don't think any of these also-rans get a ton of time. As I sit here, I would prefer the Indiana front court to these guys, and what's also a much more tolerable matchup-based relationship. You can play they said Khem Birch is getting the start, right? That's what I've done here.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, you can obviously play a $3,200 guy getting a start. I'm not overly optimistic. My set of numbers here right now is 21 and a half minutes and 16 fantasy points. That's fine for 3,200, but for example, you're looking at literally a projection of 6.5 points less than Wiggins, as one example. So points per minute, does Sengun project better than Horford if Wood is out? Yes.
Yeah.
I like Horford a lot, but as a points per minute question, yes, he's going to project for more fantasy points per minute than Al Horford. He's just a better producer. Al Horford is on or a nudge under a fantasy point a minute. Sengun is a good bit more. What is your projection for Josh Giddey?
Too little.
Mine is, or
I'm just saying it. I mean, he's still got the 30-minute cap, right? How can you do that?
No, he doesn't have the. Look how many minutes he played in the last game. 30-minute cap. No.
Gonna Dagenhall.
No. They were fibbing about that.
Yeah, and they gave him the extra 5 in OT.
Yeah, but still, last 2 games,
Yeah, sure.
One was not OT. He played 33. One he played 34 in regulation. So, and we're coming into the break, and I haven't projected for 33. So I have him for 33 minutes, and sorry, someone's asking for a point. I have 33 minutes, even 40 and a quarter fantasy points, which is fine.
Sit DJ on him, aren't they?
Does not meet Kuzma. Does not. Yes, yeah, absolutely. You'll have DJ, which is one of the reasons you like DJ. They have no one to guard DJ, whereas they actually have very decent guys to
and
guard.
Nobody to back up DJ either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, for the Thunder, someone asked, I saw a couple questions. How much do you like Roby? I have Roby for 25 minutes and 23 fantasy points. 3,400. Yeah, center position isn't getting you. I would rather play him than Wiggins. Favorite play at 6K or below on DK. You currently have OG slotted in. I believe OG will be my best projecting play with that designation. I will confirm that, but I have no issue with OG being your guy in there. My best projected play at 6K and less fantasy points is OG Anunoby. So I'm fine getting there.
That's 6 minutes and change here until lock. So especially if you've got questions on this first game, fire those into the chat. And we shall continue.
Fire those into the sun. Really like Seth Curry, by the way, based on some of the Nash comments. The matchup with the Knicks, we have a number of defensive issues, but one of which is really just allowing a ton of three-pointers to land. Obviously, no Kyrie. I really like Seth Curry. You can certainly do Bruce Brown. Nothing wrong going there either. But Seth Curry, big fan there. Do you guys think Wood sits? I'm assuming he plays. I don't have a lean there. I haven't seen anything other than just non-COVID illness. We will freaking see. Is all I have.
Took the words right off my keyboard. We didn't get shoot-around news, did we?
I don't believe so. John Morant set to warm up. Great.
I
think game time decision. He's going to warm up. He's not going to just sit in the locker room and be like, "Hey." That would be weird. If not playing Randall, do you like Mitch Robb at 6,600? The matchup is very good. I assume they will start Drummond again across the ball of the 5 centers who are available. If not playing Randall, do you like Mitch Robb? Well, I like Mitch Robb more if I'm not playing Randall. The first thing to say. I think he's fine. He has been performing a little over his head base versus the year. You're also saying, do I like Mitch Robb at 6,600? Mitch Robb is less than that on DK. I don't remember the number. So that is a FanDuel designation?
It's like 5.9, I think.
Yeah, so I assume that's a FanDuel designation.
Yeah, Triple H is always on FanDuel.
Yeah, which I would like more because if you're getting the Mitch Robb game, it very possibly includes 6 or 7 blocks. So I probably like 6,600 and lower ownership on FanDuel relative to the DK number. So yes, I would prefer him if I wasn't playing Julius. And certainly the ceiling game is potentially there for him. So yeah, but by all means, like he's not going to be in my top 3 projected centers on FanDuel, I don't think, versus dollars. But obviously he's not the most. I mean, whenever you have a guy who has such a significant value from blocks, it is very difficult to predict in various matchups. But yeah, I'm fine with you getting there.
Anthony's asking me if I like Lonnie tonight. I don't, unless you're in some sort of like turbo or show. I like there's 7 games at 8 p.m. or 7 games, 4 games at 8 p.m. Eastern. I guess he's fine as a value there.
He's fine.
But he's fine. He's okay. I mean, I would rather spend up for Vassell Keldon before him. I'll take Lonnie over Dougie tonight, but it's really like I know the matchup is good kind of across the board here, but it's really just DeJounte and move on the main for me from the Spurs.
I could see random Keldon spot because of the way I expect them to guard each other. Yeah. The matchup with the Thunder is, the Thunder defense has improved markedly recently, actually. Like they have some top 5 marks in various categories over the course of the last month. So,
I don't hate Pirtle either. Like, unless Favors is going to play more than 20 minutes, like Pirtle's going to have a pretty nice matchup the entire evening.
Yeah, exactly. So clearly DeJounte the priority for both you and me. Dropped the last time they played, he got damn near 70 fantasy points in 30 minutes. Like it is there for him. So you're absolutely fine to get there. I want to talk about the Bulls in Sacramento for a second. There's a couple guys in there I think are very interesting spend ups. But Keldon, Zach Collins is a value play, 3,300. Again, probably just plays 48 minus Pirtle. But you can get there. But it's DeJounte is certainly the only thing that on the slate I think is worth talking about with the limited amount of time we have. For Sacramento, I think Dante DiVincenzo, Fox, and Sabonis are all very much in play. You can do things like Justin Holiday or Harrison Barnes. Again, if you're playing 20 lineups or something, that's fine. But Fox in a particularly great spot for me against a Chicago defense that actually really opens the way for him to establish his game at this point. So I know hasn't had the giant ceiling games we would like to get out of De'Aaron Fox, but actually has been surprisingly, when I was looking into his figures earlier today, again, if you're going to look at the last 5 games, shots are 20, 22, 20, 21, and 18. That's a lot of shots. No steals in the last 3 games, 2 total blocks there, which is a little more fidgety. The 3-point shooting hasn't been really there. Like there is a ceiling well beyond that. And the Chicago matchup is really good. So probably Fox is the one I'm most excited to get to in GPP. Not required. But I do kind of like getting to this game, and I like a lot of guys in Chicago. So he sort of is the first run back I'm getting to. And I think the peripherals will not continue to be as poor as they've been. Just the rest of the team not making a ton of shots when he's giving the ball up. So he has 10 assists total across his last 3 games with 33, 36, and 38 minutes. That's really kept the fantasy production down. So if I'm looking to a king, Fox probably the first one who is getting into a lineup for me across the ball in Chicago. Again, the most important pieces here for me are the spend-ups being DeRozan and Vooch, both of whom have an absolutely massive ceiling here. I have them both projected for over 50. I have DeRozan for one of his highest projections of the year, close to 55. If you have not looked at the amount of damage he's done over the last 8 games or so, go look at DeMar DeRozan's game logs. He's going the fuck off as long as you continue to have no Levine. And a lot of time picked up by Green and Brown and DeSunmu and guys who don't have that much usage. He's pretty safe too. So I prefer getting to Rosen versus Vooch, but both Vooch and Sabonis across the ball have all kinds of feeling across each other. I can't believe no one has mentioned Jokic. He's coming as low owned. How can you fade him with all the value on this slate? Because he doesn't project well relative to the other studs on the slate at their prices. You have to spend $2,000 extra. There is a lot of value, but if I play Jokic somewhere, I have to play a 6K somewhere else instead of one of these other 8 or 9K guys who project for $1 billion. So as far as points per dollar ratio of the studs on the slate, my stud ranking goes Trey. I'm going to ignore I would have Trey above him, Siakam above him, DeRozan above him, DeJounte above him, Vooch above him, Booker above him, Halliburton above him, Randall above him. Then I hit Jokic. It's like you can absolutely get to Jokic. It is not a good matchup. Looney tends to do a very good job against him. Only one game this year so far between the Warriors and the Nuggets. Jokic had about 60. That's not enough. I haven't projected for a touch more than 60 tonight. I think we talked about this before. I had 60 and a little change. You had like 62. I want
61.5.
Sure, that's not enough on this slate. You need him to exceed that. Now you're going to need all your players to do better than their marginally expected production. So that's fine. But like you need 70 on this slate at 12K with all the amazing 10K options and so on and so forth. Him putting up 63 is, I mean, it's not a massive failure, but it is a relevant. Drummond starting again. Mills, Curry, Brown, Johnson, Drummond. Yeah, all those guys are in play against the Knicks defense that has gone back to being pretty poor.
Yeah. I think in any sort of MME build, Eddie, I would try to be over the field on Jokic. I don't think it's going to take that much to do so. He's only projected for 16.5% ownership.
Yeah, I think that's actually high. I would take under that.
Sure.
I do not think it will be largely on because there's so many great studs who cost less by a couple $1,000s. It's again, when I don't say anything about someone, it is more frequently I don't have anything to say than I dislike them. Like when I think like this guy is going to be overowned, I make it a point to say this guy is going to be overowned. Jokic is going to be about 15%. He ranks as like my number 7 stud. He's fine. He's Jokic. The individual matchup is not great. Looney does a particularly good job. Like there's a whole conversation there, but he's like I love Jokic. He's been absolutely amazing. But so has DeJounte over the last X games. So has DeMar over the last X games. So it's just there's a lot of really quality plays. There's some very nice spend ups that's on there. So I'm just I'm largely ambivalent. So yeah, like Halliburton I think might very easily get me 50. Kuzma, I think might very easily get me 50. They're $4,000 less. Like that is a lot of fucking money to go from 50 to 60. So that is the source of my ambivalence. Could you get 82 out of Jokic tonight? Of course. He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Randall is another one. Randall projects extremely good in this matchup. They have no one who can guard Julius Randle right now in Brooklyn. Nobody. He's going to literally spin all around Drummond.
We did hit lock here for that one game.
Sure.
I do want to talk some Phoenix on the other side of that Houston game.
Yeah, very much.
But before we do that, I just want to talk to those who
I want to get out in front. Yeah, I just want to say that this I don't want Zach to make anyone feel bad. It's fine.
It's okay.
It's all right.
But if you're freeloading, just catching the show on YouTube or Twitter, you can come on over and join us here at FTN Daily. 1 month of the NBA Premium package is $49.99, but you can use the promo code FTN TV. Scrolling right below us, all one word, it gets you 15% off that monthly package. You're going to get access to the optimizer with late swap capability, Kyle Murray's player and ownership projections, all the tools here. We've got all your industry standards plus some unique tools like the game environment tool, advanced EVP. That's Stefano Vaccarino's baby right there. One of my favorites. You get access to the ranks from Eddie and myself. You get access to the premium Discord channel, and that is the only place that we will answer questions. And I know most of you are here for the man on the marquee. That's where he's looking, not YouTube chat. So you can jump in with us, $49.99. Use that promo code for 15% off. And the best thing about that is if you enjoy your first month and you extend your stay here, that 15% discount is applied every month going forward through the end of the NBA Finals. So not a bad deal there. When you do sign up, get in that Discord, tag Eddie, tag myself. Let us know you're here because we would love to have you. Eddie, quick ownership game, Atlanta, Orlando, your game.
This shouldn't be a tough one. Trey.
Trey number 1.
I have the best projected stud.
I see you, Ted Nugent.
30.
Good to see you're still with us.
30. That's gonna be a lot. 34.
32.
That fucking. Okay. Capella is pretty.
Capella number 2.
More than I would want, given the lock and the early and the whatever. It still projects fine. Don't worry about it. But 27.
31.
Yeah, that's fine. He projects extremely well. He projects as the best center on the slate right now. That's it may turn out just fine for you. Just back end of a back-to-back. They had expressed some interest in the past in not playing him 30 whatever minutes. This would not be a shocking. Like if he played 25 minutes tonight in a close game, I would not be gobsmacked. So it's enough for me to get away there. But fine. And now, fuck, I have no idea. What? Way less than 30. So 30 and 30. And is this person even double digits?
No.
Okay, so I'll take 5 seconds and throw out a guess at it. Let's see. Anthony played. I guess Gallo had a good game. I don't think enough people get there. I don't even know. Cole Anthony,
number 3.
Really? Oh, nice.
Yeah,
he was priced well. I was worried that the mark of Cain would have kept him down, sent him to wander in the lands east of Nod. That's a little testament for you. I have no idea. Suggs, we'll go backcourt partner.
Suggs number 5.
I got it blown up.
Yeah. Bud Carter getting in there, fucking you up at number 4.
Bud Wendell Carter Jr. That's great. No one's that's of my most random movie references. Calling Wendell Carter Jr. Bud is nobody picks that one up. Okay, let's talk about something else for as long as you can possibly be here because it's 7 minutes after, and there are games.
I'll go 8 more minutes to 15 past. Did want to touch on the Suns here, as I promised Ant V in the chat that we would get there. The Suns, massive favorites here, as expected, 16-point favorites, and
sounds right.
Like I assume that's factoring in the possibility that there's no Wood, no KPJ, but maybe that slides toward 20 if those guys are out. How do you feel about Phoenix here in a spot where, I mean, Chris Paul could maybe sit down in the third quarter if this goes according to plan?
Yeah, I think they are outstanding GPP plays because they literally all have just enormous ceilings.
Sure. Booker and Ayton for me are the two that stand out over Chris Paul.
I have Booker and Ayton over Paul just because of the pricing.
Yeah.
And Paul's all the way up at 92. Point guard's a slightly harder fit. But Booker at 87, Ayton at 68, both project extremely well. I do like runbacks with Houston because it's much nicer to bet on these guys hoping the game stays close. I find Houston, so I don't know what else there is to say there. I have those guys very close. And again, that'd be 1A for me. Booker and Ayton go to a 1B to play Chris Paul. Absolutely fine to get there. You can, if this game stays close, you can absolutely get the 60 burger out of Paul there, but he doesn't rank that well for me. So I would have Booker as my favorite by a little bit over Ayton. Ayton I like a lot. After that, McCall Bridges is not going to continue to shoot 70% from the field like he has for a while, and he's at the top of his price range. Obviously, a spot he can get a ton of steals and blocks. He's going to sit on Jalen Green, so I really don't like Jalen Green that much. This is the third, if not the fourth time these two teams have played this year. And I recall watching Bridges squat Green a couple times repeatedly. After that, it starts to get pretty dicey. And then with the potentiality of the blowout, again, I don't know how they sauce up the minutes between Cam and Crowder and Torrey Craig, all of whom are, I think Crowder gets the most. You ask me to pick a guy, I'll give 28 to Crowder, but they might all get 25 again. It's a bit of a mess. Pistons will start who we thought they would start. Kojo next to Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, and Beef Stew. So Phoenix for me is kind of really those guys. They're absolutely fine to get to in a GPP. Houston is the tougher side for me, and we'll have to spend the rest of your time, because if we're talking about the possibility of no Porter, that radically changes the lineup. If we're talking about the possibility of no Wood, that again radically changes the lineup. Try to make sure you have an ability to get Alperen Şengün in there. If most or everyone is healthy, I think Wood is the best play on the team. and he's marginal, but there is a ceiling, and we've seen it versus Houston this year out of him. I can't recall the exact numbers there, but he had a good game against them. But if everyone's healthy, the rest of the team plays 26, 17, 9 minutes. Why only the 8 ranking on Julius Randle? Because I didn't see that he initially gave him an 8, and I would have said I think he should be a 9. Why only the 8 ranking on Julius Randle?
It was just kind of price. Like, he would have been like a 8.49 for me. I'm completely fine with Julius Randle. Obviously, the last like 7 games, statistically, he's been awesome. Yeah. Not translating to wins, unfortunately, for the Knicks fans. But yeah, he's been great. And RJ out and Derrick Rose out. It's, I believe, like a 31.5% usage rate with those 2 guys off the floor this year. The minutes have been back to normal Tibbs, Julius Randle minutes. So I think
I'm a pretty big fan leading into break. I think a 9 is a little more appropriate. Yeah. I have him for 48.25 fantasy points, I think, at $9,700. He actually projects very well for me. So he would be a solid 9 for me. So
let's see. Are
you slamming Lance if he gets the start? Yes. I don't think enough people. Obviously everything depends on time, but especially if it's close to lock, and I don't think the ownership spikes out of the teens, he's going to project really well. If they said Lance is starting, he would end up with a projection of like 29 minutes and 30.5 fantasy points or something for 3,700. I think is there 3,900 is the number on Lance. So I would make him a priority. I think that's fair to say. Celtics will start White, Brown, Tatum, Grant, Williams, and Horford.
And Raptors going.
Is that what I had?
That's the same 5, just swapping out White for Smart. Right?
White for they started Grant next to Horford. But that is the same with just White first. So that is what I had.
Birch in at the 5 with Trent Jr., Anunoby, Barnes, and Siakam.
They're all good. Have a Raptor. The matchup not particularly brilliant. You don't need 2 Raptors. 2 is just fine too. I like 1. I like 2. Those are good numbers. None seems dicey, especially with how tight they run that goddamn rotation. Pretty sure I want a Raptor. But get to a Raptor or 2 Raptors. Don't need 3. Birch, I still think I project for 22, 23 minutes. Aaron Holiday has drastically reduced the Suns' minute ceiling. They're not going to get 41 anymore. Irrelevant. I don't know about drastically, but he has relevantly brought that cap down. I like Ayton a lot. I do think he gets back over 30 minutes here in 6,800. It's obviously an absolute smash spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What other guys do I have? I did a Seth Curry thing. Phoenix on the back end of a back-to-back. And I might add Houston on the front end of a back-to-back, come to think of it. So they do play again tomorrow. So I think that makes it a little more likely that you get KPJ or Christian Wood or something sitting like that.
Sure.
And Edwards news we're sitting on as well, speaking of the Raptors. So I like, assuming Anthony Edwards sits out, I assume McDaniels gets the start. I'm going to like him quite a bit. So we had the just the 1 game at lock that has gone off. Do we have 3 at half past? Is that the...
Yes, it is Washington and Indiana, Detroit and Boston, and Brooklyn and New York.
We don't have a starting lineup on Washington, Indiana, 16 minutes out.
We do not. And we did just get a question from Shazam asking who are we projecting the Pacers to start. I have the 4 same guys and putting Tristan in at the 5. I also think we could see them put in Lance or Dwayne Washington and slide Jalen to the 5 and O'Shea to the 4.
I also think they start possibly the Red Rooster.
Oh, Terry Taylor.
I think there is a real chance that they continue to go with that and just slide him in there to keep everything else the same. And if there's been just enough comments out of Carlisle about trying to establish some sort of routine, and he tends to be not that frenetic with his lineup starting decisions. So I would not be shocked if they just go, hey, we're trying to give Taylor some more time anyway. We're just going to slide him in there for Goga. Also wouldn't shock me, but it's going to, I don't have a strong lead as to how that's going to go. I will be present in the chat, but they're going to rank really well. I don't think they start Tristan. If they start Tristan, he's going to look pretty good. Like I had Tristan at the start of the day at like 15 with the news Goga is out. He moved up to 19 minutes for me and about 19 fantasy points in a good matchup. So Tristan is already in play. If Tristan starts, I answered your question before you finished asking it, Jack. I have him for 19 minutes, assuming he doesn't start now. there is a chance they keep him in that 15-minute role. Like, I just think they may lean a little more. But he and Taylor are going to end up collectively be playing 35 to 40 minutes of center. So we got to see. He's got to get like 22 even if he doesn't start. No. It's totally dependent on how much time they. Like, there's a lot of guys left who can still play center on this team. Like Jalen Smith can play center. O'Shea Brissett can play center. Terry Taylor can play center. That's 3 other centers on this team. So no, Tristan Thompson does not have to play 20 minutes still. Would you go Terry Taylor over Jalen in a if he starts? Yes. If he starts, you're going to want to go Terry Taylor over Jalen in probably everything, just because the ownership won't get there in time. We're 14 minutes before lock. A lot of people have already locked in Jalen Smith. They're both going to project extremely well at that point, but the ownership difference would be so relevant that the 2-point nuance in projection wouldn't matter as much as just if you get Terry Taylor starting, yeah, that would become your priority over Jalen Smith because just your ownership would be massively better. He has OG and GPPs. Yeah, it depends on the ownership disparity there. I don't know how tight that's going to land. They both project extremely well. I don't know what the projections say for you or Kyle. I have Trent for a couple more fantasy points. He is the safer play, the chalky play, and he has tended to pick up more of that usage. So I'm fine with Trent or OG. I don't have a strong preference between those two plays. Do you have a projection for McDaniels if he starts and Ant sits? Yeah, and it's pretty good. I have 31 minutes and 24 3/4 fantasy points, which at 3,500 is very good. On Basketball Monster, they're showing Hallie, Hield, Taylor, Brissett, and Jalen as confirmed starters. I'm going to need a source other than Basketball Monster for that to be like. I would be very surprised if that made it past my web, if you will.
The news tank.
Well, I'm only half. I'm like knee deep in the news tank, but
not fully locked into the tank.
Yeah, no, not like the Spurs who are locked into the tank.
Not enough though. Not enough.
I know you want them giving. I know you want them giving it up so sweet. To make our second LA Confidential reference of the stream. Yeah. Okay, so go if you gotta go. Yeah, so you're saying Basketball Monster has the lineup that I suspected they might try. They won't start Dwayne Washington. The other like 3 guys I think are roughly equidistant, so I'm just going to wait. So if you have to go, and I will handle it in the premium Discord the moment we figure out a damn thing. But I don't have that confirmed, and I would be shocked if Basketball Monster scooped the rest of the universe by 10 minutes. It happens. Like I know 4 guys who work in the NBA. Twice a year I will get news before anybody else. There are a number of guys at Basketball Monster who I like. Josh Lloyd, who knows some guys in the NBA. So it's I don't want to disparage anyone. There's a real chance they are speaking from a source of knowledge. If they have confirmed, I think it is more likely that it is spoken out of school. But
sure,
wouldn't shock.
All right. So you're gonna just head to the chat instead of staying on solo here?
Oh, I guess we could do that. Yeah. Thomas, can we just leave me on? I will say 10-12 minutes.
I will say this. Producer Thomas is running the golf stream right now, so you got me as a producer until I leave. Wow. So maybe it is easier.
How do we do that?
That's a good question. Well, Thomas is still in here, so I think it will continue to run when I remove myself. Like I can do this.
This is when I get Tubin. Right. This is when I'm gonna get Tubin nasty. Like, be like, oh, the show is whatever, and then later tonight I'm gonna be enjoying some private time. And I'm live. What, a 7-hour show? I didn't intend on streaming tonight, but I guess I'm streaming tonight. That's fine. I think I can close this thing down. The ghost in the machine here has me a little scared right now. I don't suppose I could get a lineup Pacers. We're literally. That's great. Come on, Slick Rick, the ruler. Give me a goddamn Pacers lineup. I'm gonna redo some updates.
I mean, 10 minutes before the game is scheduled to tip. Obviously, tip is what, 7:38 Eastern.
Yeah, but still, it's
supposed to be like a league rule on that, isn't there?
I don't know if there's actually like there is a time when they're supposed to do it. I don't know if it is enforced.
I've never heard of a team getting
Right,
reprimanded.
penalized. Oh, your lineup didn't come out until after lock. You lose a draft pick. Like they don't.
All right, so I'm going to take off, Eddie. You are good to stick around until the top of the hour. That's when producer Thomas has to take off. So if you want to solo it for the next 40 minutes, you are welcome to do so.
Well, we'll start for the next 10 and see how it goes. So
Sure.
yeah, leave me whatever. I will look at the premium chat.
Sure.
If you're watching the show and you have something you think is brilliant and important, go ahead and send me a Twitter message. It might come in. I might read it in time while we're going here. I will quote some poetry and do some karaoke in between trying to figure out what the hell the Pacers are going to do here.
Well, I'm going to hit this button just because I want to as I'm leaving. So
let's get these beans.
All right. I'll see you. I'll see you tomorrow, Eddie. Bye, everybody.
A false finish. That's a wrestling term. Take care, Zach. Have a good time with the game.
I will try. We'll see. See you guys.
This is frustrating. Now I have to host the show, provide all the entertainment, and then at some point I'm going to get a Pacers lineup and then have to maintain being entertaining while reprojecting this lineup, which is I've got 2 prepped, and it's not going to look anything like that because they're going to start fucking Kiefer Sykes or something, and I'm going to poop myself. I'm real 50-50 on Ant. I'm probably like slightly more likely Anthony Edwards plays than doesn't, but can a brother get a Pacers lineup? Or if you Google or if you search Twitter for Pacers lineup, you get, how do we not have a Pacers lineup? Guy tweeting at Pacers, you need to release your lineup. Like, you're not wrong. I didn't realize I was Gordon Geckoing my hair so much tonight. I'll wear a hat for a bit. This is what you get, everyone. For the scintillating entertainment. X-Wing t-shirts, old man hair, Pacers lineups, magic. I'm going on to another monitor. About once a week, I'm like, you know what? I need more monitors. I got 3. They're pretty good. On this computer, I got a whole other computer setup over there with a couple monitors. But do I like Bruce Brown tonight? Yes, he projects brilliantly. I had him or have him in the placeholder I built. I don't remember if he found his way out. I think he found his way out because I ended up with Curry and Grimes and Pope instead. But he's really good. If I don't have Curry, I really want him. But I like getting to one of those 2 value plays. You think underdog is just slow. It's not just underdog. Like they have not. I'm looking at Pacers beat reporters. I'm looking at NBA beat reporters. I'm looking at Morant, still a game time decision, according to Chris Harrington, who is reputable. I'm looking at all the people. Terry Taylor joins starting 5. We need to have a convo about underdog. We need to talk about the children. Well, there we go. See? I want a source. I want a reputable source. Still don't have it. James Johnson, fine in play. The minute's not necessarily there, but the matchup generically positive. Obviously, still very cheap. Yeah, Basketball Monster does beat everyone. Yeah, that's. I am not incredibly sure. So I would have Terry Taylor as a pretty significant priority now. I would rather play him than Horford. I would rather he's going to project for. I had this one prepared, so I think you're going to get 30 minutes. The source for RotoWire is the NBA site. Oh, that's a pretty good one. Starters, Taylor, Jalen Smith. Interesting the way they designate them. It's going to be interesting to see who guards who. So I'm going to reproject this to try to do one-on-ones and get this slightly more narrowed down. But at the moment, I have... You're getting more Lance too. I have Terry Taylor right now for 29.5 minutes and 29 3/4 fantasy points. Ford eligible, $4,400. the ownership will not equal as good as he's going to be. So yes, I think it is a priority. I would get to it over Caldwell Pope, for example, is a perfectly good idea. I see your questions. I will get to them all. And there is a lineup where, yeah, Taylor, underdog coming in. I mean, that's not massively slow. Those of you taking shots at underdog, they were at most 10 minutes late, more accurately 2 versus what I would consider a reputable source getting there. Like, I'll take shots at people when they're wrong. But Taylor or Smith? First of all, why not both? Perfectly fine to get to them. I would probably prefer Taylor for what I imagine will be significantly lower ownership, which hopefully someone will send me shortly after we get to lock. How does Lance look now? Better. He's going to come up to 26.5 minutes or something because look, a smaller. Though they're starting with the 3 bigs, so he's going to be limited to the bench. Hold on, I almost have it. How many Pacers in the lineup is okay? I think 2 is advisable. I like 2. I'm fine with 1 and 3 is how I would describe it. I think most often. Okay, so better run, updated. Okay, I have them ranked as far as expectation versus price. I have Jalen Smith as a marginally better play than Terry Taylor, very, very slightly. And I think the ownership disparity is going to be 30% versus 13 or something. So Taylor, my favorite play, then Smith. Both Hield and Halliburton still exceptional, can get to obviously either one there. I have Tristan Thompson and Lance as compelling but not outstanding. Tristan Thompson got up to 21 minutes for me and 20.5 fantasy points. Lance got up to 22.5 minutes for me, 21.75 fantasy points. They're fine to get to, but significantly worse plays than those other 4 guys who are between very good and outstanding. So Smith, Taylor, Hield, Halliburton. I think your ideal lineup is 1 of Hield and Halliburton, 1 of Smith and Taylor. I feel that is what feels like it would be the best for me, to have 1 of those guys in each position. I'm going back into news tank since we're 3 minutes from a significant loss. So 3 Pacers in the lineup is okay. It's an 11-game slate. Locking 3 out of there feels worse for me than locking 2. So yeah, I like having a Taylor or a Smith, a Halliburton or a Hield. No giant preference between Halliburton and Hield. I do think, and we will find out in 90 seconds, but I do think the Taylor ownership, they're roughly even plays. I think the Taylor ownership is significantly less. I'm going to prefer that. You can also get Taylor at small forward, which is the stickiest position to fill in your lineup. So, yeah. Wow. How do you rank Buddy, Terry, and Jalen for Indiana? I rank Buddy and... How do I rank Buddy, Terry, and Jalen? Like, I've discussed it extensively. It's a little complicated if you were only playing 1. Hield or Trent Jr. have already 2 paces. At that point, I would go to Trent Jr. Someone on that team has to be good. You're looking at potentially the 40 minutes again. The matchup isn't the best in the world, but generally I would get to, if I had 2 Pacers already, Trent Jr. If I didn't have 2 Pacers at that point, I'd probably get to Budrick. Fair questions all, though, coming down to it. All right. We are at lock. Healed or Trent Jr. for yeah, okay, so we've done that a couple times. Sounds like that order if pressed. Buddy, Terry, and Jalen for Indiana. As far as how good they are as point per dollar plays, I would very, very slightly have Jalen over Terry and then Buddy. So actually the inverse of that order from just how many points I expect. Okay, Anthony Edwards isn't in the starting, which I did think was a slightly more likely scenario. Doesn't really make anyone better other than Anthony Edwards. And we had the situation on Saturday, Monday. One of these shows I did recently, Anthony Edwards came in and was really, really owned. Really, really low owned and went the fuck off and had a 60. So Anthony Edwards perfectly in play here. But they're starting who we expected with Edwards in, which is Beverly Russell, Vanderbilt, and Towns alongside him. Morant in and starting. Look at that. All the nudes are emerging. I mean, the dudes are emerging. I mean, the news is emerging. Yes. I should be receiving ownership shortly. I think it's coming. Bulls will start who we expected to soon move White, DeRozan, Green, and Vooch. Smith is about 4 times Taylor. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, Smith was a very popular play all day. So Smith is. I have Smith in the 30s and Taylor in the teens. I would think. I said 3 times as much. You might get 3 times as much. You might get 36 to 12 or something. I think it's coming. You can post anything you want in chat now. Kevin Porter Jr. out. Okay, nice. Yeah, so we're gonna get to some really nice work here. The problem is we've probably locked a ton of guys because these 7:30 games were very, very nice. But yeah, Şengün will look pretty good. And I'll give you some numbers on that in just a second. Jalen Smith in the largest. I believe this is whatever the big tournament is on DK. 44.9%. Terry Taylor, 11.39. Yeah. I won't say that I think my projections are perfect here, but I actually have Taylor for more minutes than Smith because of his better ability to play up more. I think I have Smith at 27.5 minutes last run and Taylor at 29.5. Taylor's a little more productive. They're roughly even plays per dollar, and just Jalen Smith was going to be owned all day. So yeah, Taylor was a much better play. So I feel good about the way that worked out. I think we read that correctly. The entire time. So now I will try to get some rockets for us. We'll continue for a bit. Cousins questionable, not terribly relevant. They can run some green at center. They can do any number of things. On Yahoo, Pat Bev, Joker, Şengün, or Ayu, Vooch, and Bazley. I'd go with the first one. I'd go Pat Bev, Joker, and Şengün. Any Scotty Barnes love with thread out? Yes, he looks good now. Previously, he was probably my least favorite of the Raptors. Now he looks like a legitimately strong play. I'm absolutely fine getting there. Jeremy Lamb out. Nice. All right. No Wood, no Porter. So everything is the delta on everything is going to go up a little bit significantly here because the odds of a blowout went from significant to we're almost at probable here that starters are losing significant time. So I have to figure out how they're going to close in a blowout and amortize those minutes through. Give me a minute. Can you discuss Brandon Clark? Yeah, I mean, the team has been functioning extremely well with all the bigs producing pretty well. And 6,100 on FanDuel is high. I think he's $5,000 on the nose on DK Triple H, which I think is okay. The matchup with Portland is good. There's a real chance of a blowout there. This is, regardless Morant status, who again is going to play, a really good Memphis team and a bad Portland team, frankly, just calling it what it is. I do not think Clark will continue to be as efficiently as it was. I would not play him on FanDuel at 6,100. I can't project him for more than, I will look it up, but it's gonna be 22 minutes, give or take 2 minutes. On such a big slate, like Showdown, sure, you can probably bet on Clark, he'd be in there in a blowout, but all the bigs on that team are playing really well, and Steven Adams is playing well, and it just limits the amount of time you're going to get out of him, especially with Morant being in. That could have helped a little bit, but yeah, I'm largely disinterested in Brandon Clark at that FanDuel price. DK price more tolerable, but still not overly interesting. Probably like 3 people are like, I'm not on stream. Can you help me? And it's like, I hate saying no, but tricky. I'm going to really like KJ Martin as well. Is going to bounce pretty significantly for me here. I expect to be. I have a feeling I'm going to turn. I'm working it out, but I have a feeling I'm going to really like Şengün and Martin. Josh Christopher is going to come into play as a low-owned whatever. And I have a feeling those are going to be my top 3 dudes. But give me a minute to work through this mess. But I think that'll be my 1, 2, 3 of it. The Red Rooster. Trey with a nice first quarter. Was there other ownership? Yes. Where did that go? I will look and see. Will I comment on other ownership? I will do that for you. Jalen Smith, 45%. That is too high relative to the other options. So this is one of those things where like, what do you mean it's too high? There are going to be, he is probably not, I mean, relative to ownership, he's not the best value play on the slate. At ownership, 45% is too high. You don't feel bad if you have any. Same thing as like we had 30 whatever odd percent Clint Capella. That's too high. It wasn't that Clint Capella didn't project well. It was just there were obvious ways you could get to a floor. And it's a ginormous fucking slate. So when there are guys who are very nearly as good or as good at 10%, you don't want the 30 or 45% on guys. So Jalen Smith, 45%. That is too high. But he healed 26%. So to be clear, I absolutely won that bet with Zach, and he just mised the shit out of it with the Gary Trent, Fred VanVleet thing starting for reference. Because there's no way I didn't lose 1.16% on the move from Healed to Trent. So after all that, Buddy Healed hit at 26%. So just for reference, I'm still the champ. I still know this shit. Fuck y'all, but I lost that bet. Tyrese Halliburton, 20%. Lance, 20%. Quentin, 19%. Bruce Brown, 18%. I don't realize the Knicks and Nets are even going here. I thought they were a half hour. Randall, 16%. Seth Curry, 16%. I like that a lot. Kuzma, 14%. I love. Terry Taylor, 11%. Is outstanding. So, yeah. And again, parts of my job are hard. That part's not really that hard. Like, just not enough people were going to get there. A lot of people already had Healed and Halliburton. So people are, of the 20% of people who would have played Terry Taylor, half of them were like, I already have 2 Pacers. Fuck it. Which is perfectly fine. Drummond, 11%. That's fine. There's a big ceiling whenever he's got the potential to get real time and start. I don't have a real issue with that. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 8.5%. Really, really good. I like KCP at 8.5% versus Jalen Smith at 45%. Yes, he's $500 more. Tatum, 8%. Love it. Mitch Robinson, 6. Grant Williams, 5.5. That's fine. Denny Avdia, 4. Tristan Thompson, 4. I'm surprised that's that low. Like, I mean, he didn't get the start, and a lot of people, Taylor and Smith. So same reasoning there. Brisket, 4%. It's pretty good for O'Shea Brissett, honestly. People like to go to the chalk guy. People like to go to the cheap guy. But you have Taylor, Brissett, and Smith. Smith is maybe the best point per dollar guy. He's really close to Taylor. And they're both a little bit better than Brissett, but their ownership is 45%, 11%, and 4%. You will win more money over an infinite string of time playing the guys who aren't Jalen Smith on this. Corey Kispert, 4. Horford, 3.5 is very nice. The Fornicator, Evan Fournier, 3.2. Mills, 3 flat. Jaylen Brown, 2.7. That's too low. Thomas Bryant, 2.3. No problem with that. Probably 20 minutes, 20 whatever fantasy points, not good enough on this slate. But Neto and Ish, both about 2%. Martin Bagley, 1.7. Feels pretty good. James Johnson, 1.4. I'm absolutely fine with that. Cade, 1.3. Peyton Pritchard, 1 flat. Tice, 1. Yeah, enough guys out of the way that you randomly could spike it. Aldridge, 0.5%. Now we're having fun. Onyeka Kongwu, 0.21%. It's actually really good. Like if you have 30% Capella, 0.2% on Kongwu is some pretty nice leverage versus the field. And lots of guys. 0.1% go. Congratulations. You have played yourself. Let's see. All right, looking at some final comments, getting back some questions. Man or Wiggins project better for you in a FanDuel GPP? Wiggins will project better for me. Eric Gordon or Poku? Yeah, Gordon is certainly someone who, so I will finish redoing Houston in a second and talk about it. Jalen Smith, 5,700 on FanDuel, even starting way too high, right? No, he's going to project as a usable play there. I suspect he is too highly owned, but 5,700 is a number he can get on top of. You can get 30 minutes and 40 fantasy points out of him. He wouldn't be a priority for me. Where would you cap Şengün exposure to? 200%? Yeah, give me a sec on that. Can you rank Paul, Booker, and Mitchell? Salary doesn't matter. You've got it. I believe I have Paul projected higher than Booker. I will confirm that. Oh, you guys are killing me. I had turned off the chat for a second, and I was like, this is nice and relaxing. Not too many questions. Don't have to sit here and do several projections all at once. Well, I do have Booker for a point higher than Paul. So price not mattering, I actually have Booker, Paul, Mitchell, though they're all really, frankly, very close. So I probably play Paul for what I suspect is lowest ownership. Not on feed. Please answer here. Is Cat still good with Edwards in or go to other? With Edwards in, which is what I had all day, I have Karl Anthony Towns for 35 minutes and 46 3/4 fantasy points. And what is now is a much better matchup. He's fine to play. He's not thrilling. He is not one of my top 10 studs. He's not a priority for me. But is he still good? Yeah, he's still just fine. You can still play 4% owned Karl Anthony Towns. If someone could at banker 93 and type that in for me so that I can move on to other questions. Trent Siakam and OG, Trent DeRozan and Şengün, or Trent LeBron and Şengün? Okay, normally I would say we should have a lowest common denominator. We should reduce the fractions by Gary Trent, but it is relevant because one of the other teams has a lot of Raptors. So I see you attempting to communicate extra information. I appreciate it. I don't have a strong preference here. I will make my triple Raptor one the last barely. I think Trent Siakam OG is a bit much. So I'm left with Trent, Şengün, DeRozan. So it's basically, do I prefer DeRozan or LeBron? I will, assuming you have no other bowls, I'll take DeRozan. If you have another bowl at that point, I'm probably leaving the money for LeBron, which again, if LeBron doesn't play, he is still questionable. I would turn in there. A lot of Şengün questions, so let's see what I have for Houston. Here, I'll make a guess at starters because I don't believe we have them yet. If we have them, someone throw them at me in short order, please. All right, so Martin, Gordon, Tate, Matthews, Şengün, Christopher off the bench, Nwaba gets in the rotation relevantly, Schroeder gets a real shift. Defense, Paul, Booker, 8. 2 Raptors feel ideal on DK. Yeah, it's like 1.6, so I slightly prefer 2 to 1. I'm just fine with 1, but 1 or 2 does seem to be the appropriate number. Can you touch on the OKC guards? Yes, I will do that as well. I will do Houston and OKC. We'll do a South Center America sort of run there. You currently have Murray and Kuminga, which leaves 34 in utility, or you could sub in Braun for Murray. I don't have a problem leaving Braun money, which turns into Anthony Davis money. I would rather play Isaiah Roby at this point than Kem Birch. Do you ever notice when KPG is out, Wood is always also out? Is this a coincidence? Remember, they're both kicked out of the game for refusing to play. I think there are differences between illness and injury and games they're resting a little bit and getting kicked out of games. So I suspect it is likely not causative. Do you like AD tonight even if LeBron plays? No, at that point for me, it's something that isn't that much of a priority. It is Utah, which isn't a great matchup by any means. So walked away for a minute. How many Rockets are too many on DK? Thinking 3. And how much interest do you have in Morant, who should be low owned? Yeah, very low owned Morant against Portland. If that game stays close, could be absolutely massive. I would probably rather play John Morant than any of the other studs we're talking about right now. He's going to get the start. He's just over 10. He's 10-2. I'm fine if you play DeJounte instead. Leave money for Braun or Brow. Any of that sounds fine. But But if Portland can keep that game close, where again, I don't have it in front of me, I'm guessing that's a 12 or 13 point line. But you're absolutely fine, obviously, to play John Morant at 2% ownership, whatever you're going to hit right now. You're in a jam. You have 71 lineups out of 102 on FanDuel with Jones. I thought Jamo would miss. Okay. Yeah, that's Tyus Jones. You thought John Morant would miss. Who can I stop? Who can I swap to, or should I stay? He is 3.8K and point guard only. Can you list me the options, please, Beast? It would be tougher for me to go to FanDuel, sort whatever, and I'd have to abandon everything else and lose a monitor there. So I'm happy to answer your question in the next 14 minutes. If you could give me a list of options to swap to, I would generally not be super excited at this point about playing Tyus Jones, who's going to be like 17 minutes and 17 fantasy points. On a slate this size, that's pretty damn ugly. So let me know what the other options are. I will let you know if any of them do better. But yes, I would double swap out of that if at all possible. Back to trying to figure out Houston. Planet Houston. Okay, PJ. No wood. Yeah, Horford at 3% was great. Had him in the original placeholder. I think I might have moved him out. Don't know. Kings will start Mo again at the 4. Schroeder still a GTD. Okay. So Schroeder, let's go with in for the moment, but they're not going to push the minutes with him not being 100%. So he's 4,500. Let's give him, I think this is the shift, and the shift will give him 19. Yeah, let's go with that. My boy Kuzma is doing some work. Like a dozen fantasy points in 4 minutes and change. Why isn't Pacers at 40 points mark 4 minutes into the game? Terrible takes. Fuck you, Benny. Tarek Taylor with 3 rebounds and nothing else in 5 minutes. Buddy Hield, negative. Yeah, 9-6 Indiana in that game. Also, unfortunately, like Trey having a good game, Orlando getting the shit kicked out of him. Sorry, having a lot of trouble with Houston. Healed woof. That's fair. That's fair. 5 minutes in, we have our first woof of the day. I remember my wife and I took a trip to Washington, D.C., and we went to all the nice museums, and we went to an opera, and we went to any number of like high art things. I wear my tux a lot. Anyway, I got in there, and across the street there was this really nice gay bookstore. So my wife and I go into this bookstore, and I'm wearing a tuxedo, and I assure you I can clean up nicely. And I walk into the door of this gay bookstore / porn / adult toy store, and there is a large furry man behind the counter who I don't know for a fact was gay, but I do know for a fact that he immediately looked at me and went, oh, woof. So whenever you guys woof a play in fantasy sports, my mind always goes to that stellar man working behind the counter of the adult shop in Washington, D.C. a decade ago. You're living rent-free in my head, sir. Rent-free. Yeah, that was basically it. Rivers Melodon MCL swap options. Teo Melodon MCL medial collateral ligament. You can swap in for Tyus Jones. You cannot double swap Beast to get away from it. By furry, do you mean hairy or dressed as a furry? I mean hairy. He was a big furry guy who's wearing a wife beater with just hair sprouting out of it. Like he had his own suit of armor. He was hirsute, as the saying goes. All right. I think, okay, so we'll make Houston. All right, so we're going with our best bet on Houston because we have to make some guesses on these things, and I don't know if Schroeder used it. So, fuck it. Your best play on the Houston Rockets is Alperen Şengün at 29.5 minutes and 35 fantasy points. I have him right now as marginally the best play on the slate. My second best is actually, well, you get into a tier of three guys who are almost identical, which are Jason Tate, Eric Gordon, and KJ Martin. They all look extremely good for me. $4,100 Eric Gordon has a ton of upside. The matchup is garbage. He is not playing in a blowout. I probably prefer KJ Martin for that reason. So I will go Martin, then Tate, then Gordon as to your next three players. After that, it gets a little dicey for me. You can get to Jalen Green. I do think he gets absolutely squat cobblered by McCall Bridges. So he would be the next priority for me. I think Garrison Matthews, David Nwaba, Josh Christopher are a little too cute. You can play Josh Christopher at 3,200. Weisenberg has left for the evening. He's watching soccer, which again, if we're going to talk, is this a reasonable joke to make? This is tough. All right, I'm going to go with it and trust that everyone understands the spirit in which it's intended. Of the two things on this show tonight that had a lot to do with being gay, the most gay was the large man with the really furry chest looking at me and going, woof. The second most gay was Zach leaving the show to watch a soccer game. There you go. I don't like using gay pejoratively, but the joke was good enough that I'm going to make a rare exception for myself. So there you go. Brisket already matching his last game. Yeah, Brisket at 4% was tremendous. All right. So yeah, there is your Houston rundown. Woof. Soccer. I love soccer. Okay. Alperen Şengün. Yeah. So Alperen Şengün, the monster. Martin, Tate, and Gordon, guys I would try to get over the field exposed to, and they're all going to be under-owned. So, yeah, do that. Get some of those guys. Slap it on. 3 rebounds and a black for Terry Taylor. Budrick Hield, 2 rebounds. None of those point things. 11-10, 7 minutes into the game. That's not fast. That's a pace for about 75-70 final score in that game. That's not good. Seth Curry canned his first 3. First of many. Seth Curry sort of my gut play of the evening. I like where Seth Curry could go. Hawks up 17. Not good. Horford crushing. Looks like Horford has about a dozen in 6 minutes. So yeah, 2 fantasy points a minute. Not shocking. I think he was in the placeholder. Hold on, let's find the placeholder. Where's the last one we got? All right, here's your placeholder, which looks like it's entirely locked. No, it has one open spot. Trae Young, Buddy Hield, Terry Taylor, Kyle Kuzma, Al Horford, Quentin Grimes, Seth Curry, and $6,100 in last spot, which is probably going to be Trent, might be Anunoby or something like that. Those would be your options. $5,100 Şengün on FanDuel, still worth wind slamming in. I don't know what wind slamming is. Wind slamming? That strikes me as like, I don't know, like an Aboriginal dance form or something. But yeah, it's still really good. I don't think enough people will get there in the ownership. So yeah, I would do that. Would you do Fox and Spida or Murray and Clarkson on FanDuel? I would do Fox and Spida. Do you like playing DiVincenzo on DK? Yeah, I think he's good. I think he's still under-owned. I think the value is very solid there. Main DK GPP 3v3 Christopher, Dance Dance Revolution, and Trent. I know it means DeMar DeRozan. Or Fox, KJ Martin, and Simons. Can replace Simons with Edwards and leave money on the table. I would play Fox, Martin, and Simons. I would keep Simons in over Edwards at this point, though that's not a strong preference between those two. Trent and Roby or Wiggins, or Man and Şengün. I would play Man and Şengün probably, but that's really close. Actually, I'd play Trent and Roby, I think. I like Şengün a lot. Man is really hard for me to get behind. 2v2, Trent, that's really close for me. I'm ambivalent on that, Chris Ferris. Okay, 2v2, Trent and Aaron Wiggins or Şengün and Vandy. Yeah, it's very similar again, but that's probably Trent and Wiggins for me because, again, Wiggins I consider much more cromulent and reasonable than Man. Windmill, yes, windmilling as opposed to wind slamming. I got it. Like you windmill slam something. We just skipped the mill part of there. You created your own portmanteau. Good words you should use. Portmanteau, Portmanteau. When you stick two words together to create a new word, like brunch is a portmanteau of breakfast and lunch. There you go. 10.3 util DK, best guy in GPP. There's a lot there. Off Tyus now? Yes. Get away, run away, screaming. Roby or KG on DK for me. I would go with KJ Martin at this point. You should play in the blowout run there. He's going to have just like 29 minutes for me as opposed to like 23 for Roby. So I would actually go with KJ Martin at lower ownership. 10.3 DK utility. Who hasn't started yet? What 10.3 or less guy would I think is my favorite in GPPs at the moment? I would say I don't know how to answer this question because there's correlation issues that are going to make me like one of these guys more than any of these other guys. So I'll mention Siakam. Leaving 900 on the table seems like a bit much on this slate, but he would not be out of play. Your other possibilities here are Vooch, Towns, Morant, and Curry. Lots going on there. I don't consider any of them inviolable. I am probably assuming I don't have DeRozan, which I'm assuming you do not. I probably play Vooch and then Morant. But I don't have a strong preference. None of those guys are in any way, horrific. The Bulls are going to be super owned. They're down by, I again, a couple times on the show, and I did not get to it with as much, we're almost up at 8. I did not get to it with as much focus as I wanted to, but I'm very interested in DeRozan and Vooch. Very much so. They both rank very well for me. After that, it is a little tricky. You can Kobe, obviously. You can just Sunmu. The prices on those guys aren't great, but they are playing Sacramento. So you are looking at spots where they can get the 45 you need to pull out for them to be good at their 6K price tags. That's probably where it starts. So, yes, I would want to be over on the Bulls. DeRozan's going to be, I'll call it 13% owned. I would want more. Vooch is going to be, I'll call it 9% owned. I would want more. Dosunmu and Kobe White are both going to be whatever 4, 5, 7, 9% owned. I would be on top of them too. So I would agree with Herm that they're going to be on Capella Wolf. Yeah, again, that's let me pat myself on the back. It's what I'm good at. I think getting over all of Herm and I are literally quoting each other concurrently in chat. So Spurs starting who we assumed they would. Big Al Horford running his Animal Sanctuary and all this. 16 so far for him. Kuzma still carrying on well. Mitrov, 2 blocks, not bad. 0 real points. That sounds right. Horford absolutely going off. He's a good man and thorough. Yes, I'm super. Thanks for asking. All things considered, I couldn't be better, I must say. Would you rather Vooch or Cat? I would rather Vooch at this point, all else being even. Projection, it's a little bit better, and I want more of that game, and odds of staying close, and environment. Like, I'm just a bigger fan of Vooch there. Simmons when he leaves Philly. Yeah. Nice little pop out of Quentin Grimes there. Quentin Grimes. Yes, I would love updated ownership once we get past 8. Thank you for asking. Grimes to the moon. Nice. He was in the placeholder. This is one of those days where I'm going to be like, yeah, my placeholder's good. Wait, I didn't win anything. I lost like $100,000. But they paid me $37 and a hot dog to host the show, so we're going to call it a win. Still a couple weeks out on Alex Caruso. Tice checks back in. The Boston faithful are happy. Who is a better lover in your opinion, Pop or Carlisle? Just to be clear for me here, you're asking me who I think has greater sexual prowess, Rick Carlisle or Greg Popovich? I love this question, by the way. least you get the hot dog. That's true. Javi is currently renegotiating for the hot dog. Okay, my last question is, when you say a greater lover, like I'll give you an example. Let's compare me to Zach. Okay, I'm a better lover than Zach, for obvious reasons. I'm older, I'm more experienced, and I'm me. I'm awesome. So I'm a better lover than Zach. Now, Zach is 15 years younger than I am, in better shape. So I imagine Rick Carlisle's cardio is much better than Greg Popovich's. Am I taking that into account in your estimation? Because this would make this a much closer question. Otherwise, it's going to be Greg Popovich. And I'm going to tell you why. He's a man of the people. He has all the qualities that make a great lover. You are concerned with your partner's pleasure. It is the predominant variable by which you gauge the exercise. If I've done a good job, someone else has really enjoyed themselves, because I'm getting there no matter what. And I think that Greg Popovich, noted socialist, Democrat, lover of people, would be a superior lover. So I like me some Rick Carlisle. Seems like a decent dude. But generally, I think Greg Popovich. Great question. Well done. Question of the night. If Zach was here, I would have him give you a ticket. But because Zach has a certain persuasion that causes him to abandon the show and go play soccer, no ticket for you. I'm just saying. However, I would qualify. Yes, I would. Yeah. I would think Pop would be the man putting it down there. Good question, though. Best question of the night certainly was, who is a better lover, Rick Carlisle or Greg Popovich? You want to see Zach in some shin guards and knee highs? I guarantee you that man is wearing some shin guards. You ever been kicked in the shin? Let me tell you, wearing shin guards is a good goddamn idea. That shit hurts. Well, let's not play. I'm awaiting ownership, yes, and then I will leave you all alone, for I've taken too much of your valuable time. Oh, I believe this is it. It is. Very well. All right, what do we got? We got, let's see. This is the whole slate. So most owned player on the slate, Jalen Smith, only 3 fantasy points. Now, again, only like 6 for Terry Taylor, 5.75. Okay, so guys who we hadn't started yet. Aaron Wiggins, 29%. Shockingly, that's too high. Gary Trent, 25. That may not be too high. He projects extremely well. DeJounte, 19. Yeah, feels good. That's about right. Pascal Siakam, 18. That feels good. That's about right. Anunoby, about 16. Yeah, so that's about where I thought they would be, and I don't have a preference there. I like Trent a little more. He's 24. Anunoby, 16. Fine. Josh Giddey, 12.5. Sure. Darius Bazley, 10.6. Fine. Vooch, 10. Delicious. I think I said 9. DeRozan, 9.88. I assumed he would be 13 or 14, so I erred there. I thought he would be more owned than Vooch. That's outstanding. If I knew there was him ownership, I would have preferred DeRozan, but they're both very good. Tyus Jones, 7%. You need some help there. Like, he's cheap and he's good and productive per time, but that's going to be a giveaway most of the time. Steven Adams, 6.5. Kobe White, 6.5. Domantas Sabonis, 6. I like that. Anthony Simon, 6. I like that. Trey Mann, 6. I like that. Josh Hart, 6. I like that. And a name I did not mention on the show and probably should have mentioned. He's got a real role there, and him and Simons are going to establish themselves as a nice 2A. Roby, 5. I like it a lot. Scotty Barnes, 5. Like that a lot. Russell, 5. Sure. Denny Avdia, 4.3. Good. Tristan Thompson was in a previous game, and I'm just catching up. Justice Winslow, 3.6. Ayo Dosunmu, 3.5. I like that a lot. Yeah, so the numbers on the Bulls were, as I and Herm expected, very positive. Desmond Bane, 3.5. I like that a lot. Jaren Jackson Jr., 3.5. I like that a lot. Jalen McDaniels, 3.34. With the starting that much. Fox, 3%. I like that a lot. Beverly, 3. Towns, 3 on the no. Poku, 3. Jakob Poeltl, 2.3. Brandon Clark, 2.3. And that's at 5K here. So again, 6-1 on FanDuel. Tough, although he is a good steal block guy. So that should be in your calculus. Devin Vassell, 2%. Jared Vanderbilt, 2%. Keldon Johnson, just under 2%. Marvin Bagels, just under 2%. Anthony Edwards, 1.7%. It's very good. Ja Morant, 1.6%. That's extremely good. Harrison Barnes, 1.6. Zach Collins, 1.3. Sure. Is it worth it? Yusuf Nurkic, 1.13. Cam Thompson, 1.12. Peyton Pritchard, 1.03. Again, some of these games have started already, and they're just people who haven't scored. Kevin Birch, 0.9. Javonte Green, 0.8. Justin Holiday, 0.67. Troy Brown Jr., 0.62. DeAnthony Melton, 0.5%. Malik Beasley, 0.5%. Dougie McBuckets, 0.5%. CJ Ellaby, 0.5%. Mo Harkless, 0.4%. Chris Boucher, 0.33%. And other guys thorough all. By the way, Onyeka Okongwu currently outscoring Clint Capella. No, he isn't. Damn it. Capella's got him 14-10. But maybe he'll get there. Maybe at half the price and a quarter of the ownership. By a quarter of the ownership, I mean 100th of the ownership. All right, I'm gonna one more question. Let's look first, see if there's news. Great solo show. It's 30 minutes of me rambling, but I am flattered that you enjoy my ramble on. Rambled to the moon. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. I mean, you guys asking questions on the show is a critical part of the show because there's too many players and there's no way I can prepare for 300 or so. And Zach doing his rankings and me revising, but then I sometimes miss a guy like Randall. To me was a clear 9 based on how well he's been playing. Zach had him in an 8 and provokes a good discussion. And we handle that before the slate locks and no harm is done. So you guys have a tremendous amount of value to the show, and I do not take you for granted. Zeppelin. Gotcha. I wasn't sure what was going on there. Yeah, Atlanta up 19 at halftime. Not ideal for any shares in that first game. Horford was 16 in the first quarter. Feels pretty good. 5 and 3 and 2 and 1 and 1. It's nice. Grimes with a good first quarter. My boy Seth Curry currently, I believe, the biggest letdown in my placeholder. But we're all a quarter in here. Yeah, if I'm not karaokeing Stairway to Heaven, Ramble On occasionally gets in there. Come on, let's go, Anthony Gill. Stop it. You're just saying that to tease me. You did not play Anthony Gill. Stop it. Stop it. I refuse to look. Okay, I'm looking. I'm going to look and see if Anthony Gill is doing anything. If he's doing something, I will be frustrated in a profound way. 7 minutes, 0 for 4 from the field. 2 points, a steal, and a rebound. And you did too. No, you didn't. You guys did not play Anthony Gill. Stop. Don't ever play Anthony Gill. Let me just... Literally, if they're starting Anthony Gill, me, Zach, Javi, and a bag of peanuts, okay, you can play Anthony Gill. He's up to 0.8 DraftKings points per minute played in his career. That's not bad. Let's see. Most DraftKings points in a game. I do think he had one. I'm looking up Anthony Gill stats, which is certainly a good use of my time. Oh my God. Nah, he hasn't had a good game. All right. So, Anthony Gill has played 50 games in his career. He has gotten to 25 DraftKings points twice and 20 DraftKings points 4 times total. And 15 DraftKings points 9 times total. Now, again, obviously the number of minutes played in these games is not particularly impressive, those tapping out at 26 or whatever. But on DraftKings, what would Javi's price be? 0. And you probably still shouldn't play him. But there's a fascinating mathematical quandary there as to how much of a player who costs 0, how much does a player who costs 0 have to project for you to take a spot? And it is not 1. If I tell you there's a guy who costs $0 and gives you 1 fantasy point, it would almost never be correct to play that player. almost always the loss of the slot, the loss of flexibility, the opportunity cost would be more negative than whatever positives you would gain from spending $0 to get a fantasy point. You would play Vince over Anthony. I like it. Vince Gill, that being. Mm-hmm. All right, everyone. We made it a couple hours. I have had a long day, but you are all good men and thorough, as exception, of course, to the shadow women, which again sounds like a cult or a coven of rogue ninja warriors in feudal Japan. But shadow women, shout out to you too. But everyone else, good men and thorough. Hopefully Thomas, the producer, is listening, for I'm about to attempt to end the show. Apparently there's something going on with the golf people. So we can only hope that I am being attended to. But a good show as always. I will endeavor to watch more in the chat as the slate progresses. I have family just home. I have some number of other things I'm supposed to do tonight. So I am to some degree conflicted, but I will do my very bestest to continue to help you guys out for the duration of the evening. And I guess with that, let's get these beans.
Let's get these beans.